Hello and welcome, this is Rooflemonger, and today we have another in our tips and tricks series, this time detailing Frieza in Dragon Ball FighterZ. So as always, I'll be going over his specials and supers. I want to talk about his normals a little bit, talk about in-depth Golden Frieza and also his level 1 super, because there's a lot more to it than just hitting the move. And as always, a generalized game plan that you want to be going for. So without any further ado, let's get to it. So, to start off with his special moves, first up let's talk about here Death Slash, aka the Pillar. That's quarter circle forward one of your attack buttons here. So, this is basically a zoning move in a game with not much true zoning. So, this has incredible screen control. If you did watch my top 10 special moves list, I actually had this rated number 5, because it owns a massive part of the screen depending on which version you do. So, the one downside to it, yes, is absolutely, so say if we do the close one, the enemy can freely, do something behind the screen. If we do the far one, if we're too close up, we are absolutely going to miss. So yes, that is a weakness, absolutely. But for a very large chunk of the screen here, because you can see here, this hits from quite a whiles away. This is not some tiny pillar. So even one pixel closer here, every one pixel closer, we get our hit. So it owns a massive part of the screen, and it does a little over 1,000 damage. So it's not a lot, but it's definitely a great move to frustrate people, because if you tag people with this 2 or 3 times, they're going to do something rash. No one's going to sit around and let this keep happening. They're going to do something rash. They can recover in the air, and usually the first thing they're going to do is try to homing dash to get past it, at which point, easy down heavy to smack them out of the air. It's just great screen control. And if you got bar to burn, the EX version hits everything on screen. And here, I'll just turn on our damage info just so you see. There is a bit of a sweet spot right in the middle where the EX version can actually get both hits. There we go, but I saw right there was a 2-hit combo. So, generally speaking, if you're doing the EX version, you're not going to plan for it. It's going to be a happy accident. But yeah, if you got a bar to burn, the whole screen is just a big landmine that nobody's going to get around. There is no point where you have to be somehow have already vanished behind Frieza to not get hit, basically. It just owns the entire screen. But all in all, the Pillar, just a fantastic move. It's one of the few true zoning moves in the game. And let's go on to the next move here, which is you might not survive this. AKA, I just call this his big ball. That's quarter circle forward special. So he shoots his big ball. If you do it in the air, it arcs downward a little bit. And despite being a projectile, I don't consider this any real solid zoning tool. If you toss this in the air, you're just basically trying to fill time because you don't know what else to do. It does mostly have the property here where if it hits, it'll give a little bit of a capture state. It'll take the enemy with them and travel them to the screen. And if it hits in the air, it'll capture them, and it's usually your best setup into your level 1 super. All in all, it's a pretty, decidedly average move. It's not amazing like any aspect of zoning like the Pillar is, but it gets the job done, and it's mostly combo fought. Next up here we have Death Saucer, so that's Frieza's 2 Destructo discs, and he tosses them out, and they come back just like in the original anime. Although, luckily for you, if you manage to duck or otherwise be out of the way, you'll have different results in the anime. But if you do stand still, in case you're somehow not aware, it totally will hit you on the way back, so you gotta watch out for that. If you're somehow very desperate for bar, you can actually deflect them. And as you see here, you gain a little bit of bar, but maybe not put yourself in that position. So, it's of nebulous use in neutral, honestly. You can toss it out, and when they're out, you will stall neutral for a second because people are going to be like, oh, they're going to return. The game's basically going to slow down for a second while these guys are on screen and are constantly a threat. And there is some pretty sassy combos in the corner and mid-screen. If you check the companion combo guide, you can see those, where you can combo into the saucers and kind of just go from there. But for the most part, it's not the ideal way to go about zoning. It's very slow startup here. Once again, we keep referring back to Death Slash because that's where the gold star is as far as the zoning is. Because it's very fast versus the long setup and travel time that the Destructo discs have. But still, it's interesting and once again has combo potential. And our final special move here is Warp Smash. That's down, down, and special button. And he does a little bit of an instant transmission and teleports to the other side and does a heat blast. It's nothing special. If you do it from a bit further out here, he won't switch sides. So the distance is a bit fixed. So if you do it very close to the enemy, they'll also teleport way further out. So the distance for the most part is fixed. So if it's in the corner, you can only teleport in the corner. And by the way, it does steal the corner. As I mentioned in many videos here, you cannot normally steal the corner through normal means. Can't jump over their head like Street Fighter or something to take the corner from. So this is one of the few moves that can steal the corner. So if you're really trying to, mix people up in the corner, the last thing they have to worry about, generally speaking, is a left-right mix-up. And this is something that can be provided for it. So classic usage of this move is just something like, you do it, call an assist to cover it, and just go from there. If the enemy is being hit... Now, if the enemy is being hit, as you can see here, it does cause a bit of a ground bounce, so you can actually get a recombo afterwards. So that is handy to keep in mind. It's not going to happen in many setups. Death Saucer is going to be the most common setup where you can see that happen, but it does have its uses. Now, on to his super moves. First up, I'll just quickly talk about level 1, because I'm going to talk about it in more detail later on. But that is the Death Ball. He gets the Planet Cracker ready and he tosses it, and that's kind of all she wrote as far as basics are. Once again, I'm going to talk about it more in its own section. But as for just the move itself, it comes downwards at an angle. You can do it in the air as well as in the ground. So, you see here, it goes much further down. Now, one thing to note too about the damage. So, if you are higher up in the air, you will do more damage than if you are not higher up in the air. So, quick example here. So, we're just going to launch them all the way up. Now, as you see here, each successive tick, 9999999, adds to the damage. Once again, just one more time to show you. Every 9 you see going down is a successive tick of damage. So, the higher you start the combo and the further it goes down, you'll get just a smidge more damage. Now, this isn't to dissuade you from using it any other place other than high up. But if you do use it from high up, you will get a little bit of bonus damage. It's not much, but it is there. So next up we have his level 3, and this is the first of his many level 3s, as he has 3 level 3s, and that's the Nova Strike. So he jumps up a little bit in the air and slams down, and if you are in the air, he'll just do it wherever you are currently in the air. Now, it's not amazing. If you do it point blank, by the way, this is what makes it a very bad reversal. If you do it point blank, it'll just straight go over the other guy's head. So this is not a good get off me pressure reversal. If you're getting heavily pressured and do it, there's a very good chance you'll just go right over their head and it'll whiff. So it's very serviceable for ending combos, to get that extra bit of damage, get your true hard knockdown. But for the most part, it's not amazing. Now the next one we got here for this level 3s is You Must Die by My Hand. And this is assuming using a stock PlayStation 4 controller. This is hold R2. Now, you can make this work off any knockdown. So I did a situation where I got a soft knockdown, and I can still hold R2 and get it. So you can do it off a soft knockdown, a hard knockdown. Anytime you are knocked down to the ground, you can do this. And this includes Golden Frieza expiring. Now for his final level 3, that is Golden Frieza. So I actually made a whole video about Golden Frieza before, so I don't want to go too much retreading everything, but I'll go over the basics here. So first up here, as you can just see, just by me plainly moving here, his speed has been dramatically increased. His walk speed, and that includes like his dashing speeds and all that. And on top of that, he is allowed extra air movements. So normally here, just to show here, you can double jump in the air, or you can backdash or forward dash in the air. But however, you can only do one of those options. So if I double jump, I cannot forward dash. If I backdash, I can't double jump. If I forward dash, I can't double jump. You get to pick one of the two options. You can either dash or you can double jump. So Golden Frieza puts these rules out the window. So first up here, so I double jump and I can still dash. I can dash. I still can't double jump though. So I'm trying to jump after the dash, can't do it. But you are still at least allowed to dash after the double jump. And on the dash front, you're allowed to dash twice. So you can backdash twice, forward dash twice. It does not really matter. Now, Golden Frieza does come with a weakness, as we're about to find out here in a moment. And that, when it goes down, he goes down with it. But that's not the be-all, end-all. So, can he defend himself while doing it? Technically, no, you cannot block. But as we mentioned before, you can do the level 3 where you're falling down to the ground. And if you hold your Ki Blast button as you're falling down, you can call Sorbet, straight out of the Revival of F movie. And he'll do a ring shot, and he'll kind of blast past your opposition. And depending on how close you are, can actually even beat out other supers. So, you really gotta watch the spacing on it. But generally speaking, there you go, and he'll fall down with you. So it does cost you 1 extra bar, but depending on the situation, you got to make the call if it's worth it to use it, because it might save your tuckus. But, you know, it might have been a waste of bar too. And finally, after all that, the final thing we got here is you just get straight damage boost. So he does a 20% more damage across the board. So this does not raise your minimum damage caps. It won't raise your minimum damage for your supers, because the supers do the same minimum damage no matter what, regardless if you're in Golden Frieza or if you're in Sparking, doesn't matter. They do the same fixed minimum damage. But yeah, Golden Frieza in Sparking does a lot of extra damage, as both of the buffs will stack, not cumulatively, but they do stack, so you'll get quite a bit more extra damage. And just to show you one more time there, you can hit X for the sorbet ring assist no matter what point you're falling. You do it at the start of your fall, at the end of your fall, so you do get to vary the timing a little bit. So now let's talk about some of his normals here. I did mention earlier how I made a top 10 special move list and the pillar was on there. I also made a top 10 normals move list and his down heavy's on there because it's an amazing move. First up, you know, the usual down heavy stuff, you know, invincible air attacks and all that stuff. But the real key thing is the range. So you can use this from incredibly far away. So see here, it does whiff from this exact distance. Now I'm going to walk one pixel closer. Now it's going to connect. And once you know it, that's the incredible range this move has. So you can threaten with this from a very far distance, and generally speaking, yes, for the most part, your down heavy moves are meant to be unsafe on block, but at this specific range, not much of the cast is going to be punishing that, because, you know, how could they, because you're so far out. So it's very safe to toss out, and on top of that, it's a very strong system. Once again, it is a down heavy. A lot of people want its instant air dash in, or, you know, just otherwise get very airborne in your face, very up close. This will deal with it in a pretty reasonable manner. It does have a bit of a blind spot above his head here, but for the most part, if you're tossing this out and they're already above your head, I don't know, it probably wouldn't occur to you to make that specific judgment call anyways, because you want to use this from further out. Now that said, that's not even the only fantastic normal he has. So he also has the standing medium punch. Or I guess standing medium. Medium punch, a bit of a Street Fighter holdover for me. But yeah, it's just got incredible range. So here we are in the round 1 fight position, and it connects. And not only does it connect from there, we can take a step backwards, it still connects. We can take a small step backwards from that, and so it'll whiff. But just to show you, right around here, it can still hit at the absolute edge. This is a move that, while, you know, a lot of people have moves that are similar range, the fact that it has this range wall is still kind of rare in this game. A lot of people have a lot of moves, you know, they're usually pretty stubby and don't quite have that range. Now, is it quite like hit or something? No, it's not. It's absolutely not like hit. But the fact that he has it at all is very much a big feather in the cap, and is something just to toss out when you think you can go for it, because, you know, go right into it. Then you can go into the next medium, which will go into a sweep, which is a 2-hitter, so it's a great use for you to hit confirm your combo. So the 2 hits will let you see, oh, did I hit or did I get blocked after this? So 3 hits total, more than enough time to hit confirm and do whatever you need to do from there. But yeah, between his stand M and his down heavy, both fantastic. And on the normals front here, sometimes I notice not a lot of people know about it, but he does have an aerial down and S. So I'm sure you all know about, you know, the triple flashbang here. But if you do down S in the air, he does have a more traditional arc downward key blast. It is not amazing. Most of the time you're going to use it maybe in a combo, but it is something to threaten with at the very least, because, you know, it's worlds faster than this thing, right? So if you need a quick downward angled attack while you're in the air, this is what the doctor ordered. And also on top of his regular down and key blast there, the eye blast, you actually have 3 variations of this. So this is down and key blast. This is down forward holding diagonal. And see here, he actually rolls forward, and this is down back. And does a completely different angle than the regular down. This is more of a 45-degree upward angle, and this is a much more shallow angle, as you can see here. So you have 3 variations of this on the ground, so make sure to hold down, down forward, or down back accordingly. So I said earlier, we're going to wrap around back to the level 1. So let's talk about the level 1 right now. So once again, as I mentioned, as a level 1 super in and of itself, you know, it's perfectly serviceable. You can even get extra damage if you do it from high up. But what makes it really fun is this. So I'm going to show you 2 examples here. One works with most characters, and one only works with Gohan to my knowledge, but it might work with some more people if I could lab it out. Maybe you can lab it out, but what you want to do here is any basic combo, does not really matter, as long as you end in your death ball, which I totally just botched. So let's try it one more time. So normally you do this, you're going to do your death ball right away. And I'm here to tell you, don't do it right away. So, once again, we're going to do the same thing here. Now, the death ball, there we go, boom. See where it goes from 10 hits to 11 hits specifically. So, they hit the ground a little bit when it explodes. That's when you want to try to do your super. So, I'm going to show you an example of why that's the case here. So, we're going to super now. There we go, it hit, you saw it. Call Nappa. Do his level 1. And once you know it, hey, I get a follow-up. So, not a big follow-up as you can see there, but I did get a follow-up. So, people who have supers that are not as long-lasting, usually like a quick explosion, that's it, they can actually combo after Frieza's death ball hits in that specific scenario. So, I'll just show you one more time here with a different character just to show you. So, now I'm going to show you here with Android 21. So in this scenario here, I got 2 supers out of her because I was allowed to jump up, do her knee slam, and then do another level 1. And here as a bonus too, I'll just show you using Trunks as our base. So once again, same setup, and don't keep in mind here, you don't have to do the exact combo I'm doing. All you have to do is any combo in the air that's in the corner that leads up with the big ball there. So same example. Wait for it to hit the bottom of the ground. It hit. We call our super. We'll call Trunks. And Boingo Bango Bongo, we get a bit of a follow-up. So once again, this is any character with a fairly quick level 1. So if the level 1's, very drawn out or something, it's not going to work that great. Like Kid Buu, for example, it's not going to work. Or Majin Buu, same deal, because it just lasts much too long. But for characters that have quick level 1s, in this scenario, you can do it and, homing dash and follow up. Or maybe do something a little more dramatic, as we've shown with Android 21. We can do the knee drop, and we can get 2 additional level 1s out of it. But yeah, it lets you play around a lot, and get a lot more extra value out of just the normal, I do the super, then I call the next guy and do their super. Now, I did mention Gohan here, so I'm going to show the example with Gohan. So much like the other characters we've shown off earlier here, the exact same setup works for Gohan just like it does for anyone else. So that's not what I want to show you. Although, for completion's sake, I will show you just so you can see it. And works great, fantastic, right? But Gohan is the one character I figured out where he can do this anywhere on the screen. It does not have to be in the corner. So in this situation, what we're going to do is this. So we still need our down heavy launcher, and specifically for this one, you do need the launcher down heavy. You can't just go sweep into, not as high launcher. You do need to be able to spike the foe down using Frieza's down and heavy. But just to show you the example here. So we're going to call Gohan now. And wouldn't you know it? So Gohan's level 1 actually bounces the enemy all the way across the screen into the Frieza level 1 super, which otherwise would have missed. Which at that point he can homing dash and get a follow-up. So that is pretty interesting. So it makes those 2 characters work pretty well together in my opinion, as that's a bit of synergy you're not going to find anywhere else, unless you sneak in a little bit more damage than the usual. I call in his level 1, and when it connects, then I do Gohan's level 1. As adding in a homing dash and some extra hits is more damage than just the 2 supers by themselves. And of course, we got Gohan with a freshly gained level, mostly in the enemy's face, so that's a pretty dangerous situation to have after that. So yeah, it's just great synergy. Now for his generalized game plan. Now, there is no such thing, at least in my opinion, and I think you'll find most people's opinions, of a true zoner in this game, because there's just too much movement, homing dashes, teleports at will for bar and all that. But I think Frieza comes the closest to what you're going to get to as far as zoning gameplay, and that's mostly on the back of the pillar, because I think the pillar should be a big part of your neutral game plan. The opponent has to play around this, as long as you're applying it smartly, not just, doing the same move over and over and over and spamming. As long as you apply it smartly, the opponent does have to play around this, because you don't even have to be that particular in your spacing. As long as you know where you are roughly where you are to your opponent, you know which one to hit. And just toss it out. On top of that, it is safe on block. So if you toss it out in the end of a block string, as long as they don't deflect it or something like that, you can basically get away with just tossing it at the end of a block string, and then, yeah, your turn's over, sure, whatever, but it's a safe on block move, and it's pretty handy to have. Like I said, once again, I can't really extol the virtues of this enough here. It's just a great move, and this is honestly, outside of your usual Dragon Ball style rushdown and all that, this is should be the other pillar of your game plan. I did not even mean to phrase like that because I call it smooth the pillar, but I stand by it, I guess. It's just really fantastic. And also, on that note here, so his traditional style, you know, fireball, if you want to call it that, this guy here, the big ball, and it just doesn't cut the butter when it comes to far zoning or anything like that. But he does have his little finger blasts, his basic key blasts, and they're pretty good. The travel time's really quick here. Gives you a lot of time to hit confirm if you can see him connect, so you can just hit confirm. Oh, I got it. Go into vanish, and you'll get whatever vanish combo you want after that. And yeah, it's just really solid. And also, yes, absolutely, it can be homing dash through, just like all basic key blasts. And yes, they can homing dash through it on block. That is a unique property of the basic key blast, that even if you block them, you can homing dash through them. But you can just kind of hold it. Oh, it's blocked, I stop. It's not going to give enough time for people to react to it anyway. Realistic time frame. So you can just toss out like 2 or 3 and like let go if it's blocked and keep going if it hits, and you know, fantastic. And yes, obviously, vanish combo afterwards. If you're willing to burn 2 bars to get a super or something, it's not a lot of damage, but still, it's you know, any amount of damage is always better than no damage, right? So you got to take your damage where you get it, and this will allow for a little tiny chunk, but it's still better than nothing. It's pretty decent, in my opinion, as far as basic key blasts go anyways. On a note about being on the defensive and sealing it back to an offensive role, so if you deflect, you know, you obviously push the enemy back, and then you think, you know, what button am I going to hit? And I'm here to tell you, generally speaking, for the most part, the button you would like to hit after you deflect the foe is just your stand heavy. As you know, it is a proper projectile. Like, it won't beat any beams, won't even trade with a beam or anything. Like, it'll lose the, you know, normal projectiles, sure, absolutely. But it does go to full screen for one, so if you manage to put them back far away, and they manage to stay far away, then great, you know, at least it's still pressure. And the vacuum to your smash, which is your wall bounce, is actually very large. So even from like here, you see here, it connects from there. So if you pass them back with deflect and they are still moving in because they have like some sort of form of momentum, it is very easy to catch them, and then you can just get into a full combo from there. It is an incredibly powerful move to use directly after deflect. Not a lot of people have a move as useful as Frieza to use directly after deflect, just simply because, you know, it's always going to be different for everyone. Because, you know, depending on what they did, they'll move back further distance or not. They move forward a little bit, depending on what they did. They could either stay in place or they might move forward. So certain things will miss, certain things won't, depending on what character, what situation. But this is just a great catch-all. It basically does everything you want in that situation right after deflect to follow up and then go right for a move. If they stay far out, sure, whatever, it still counts as a projectile. If they somehow manage to come closer in, then it just comes your smash, and then you can just follow up with a combo, and that's pretty handy too. Just all in all, is to me the go-to button to hit after deflect. Another thing to note here, and this is more of a warning for Frieza players if you're new to Frieza, a lot of characters, generally speaking, you do your snare dash, you want to cross up, and it works fine. Frieza, however, is a little more finicky than a lot of the characters. So, especially if you're any amount or closer, you're going to notice here his jump medium is not really up to snuff for getting cross-ups when you're closer to enemy. If you're like, you know, more of an average distance away, sure, absolutely, then it'll work just fine. But it's just not ideal. And plus, since it is multi-hitting and the first part of the move is not a great hitbox, it might push them out far, and you really got to have very good spacing to run forward and get a jab and connect your combo afterwards. So basically what I'm trying to say here, his cross-up game, for the most part, is pretty weak. Even his jump light is actually kind of a better cross-up, although it has less hits done, so it's much more difficult to follow up with. But yeah, this is not one of his strengths, to be sure. If you're coming from a different character, for the most part, most characters are pretty decent with just instant air dashing into a cross-up, and Frieza, that unfortunately is one of the weaker parts of his game plan. And as our final note here on the generalized tips for his generalized game plan is you don't always have to end the combo in Death Ball. So I know a lot of people here, you do whatever combo, and even if you don't want to end the super, you just kind of do this and that's it, right? Sometimes, and yes, I did talk about how Frieza, as far as zoning goes, he does have basically the best of what the game has to offer, even if it isn't much. So sometimes, yeah, being far away is not a bad thing at all. But if you do want to stay on top of the enemy, that is not the way to do it. Because if you do it in the corner and don't follow up with a super, they're just going to recover before you. And by the way, if you do your level 1 super in the corner and nothing else, they will recover before you. So really got to keep that in mind, because they could just easily homing dash directly upwards on you, and you got to be on the defensive right away. So watch out for that. But the one thing I want to mention here is just simply this: you can end a lot of your combos with your down and heavy and get the proper slide out knockdown most of the characters in the game have. And you can just be right on top of them. So if you end with your big ball here, it's not going to happen. You have to change your combo a little bit to make up for the fact that you should be ending in this. You're jumping down and heavy, which is different from your regular jumping heavy, just so you know. It causes a slide out knockdown. You can be right in front of the face and keep your pressure going. So if you are looking to keep up your pressure, that is the absolute best way to do it if you're not willing to burn any bar. So in closing, Frieza's a pretty solid character all in all. He's got some really good normals in the down heavy, stand am. He's got a little bit of weaknesses. Like I said, his cross-up game's really weak, but more than makes up for it with the good normals and the fact that he's got one of the few elements of passable zoning in this game to begin with. And he's just really good. Like we talked about here, I am a really big fan of the level 1 synergy with a lot of characters. This is just really interesting and lets you eke out a bit more damage than your average, super and the super. And on top of having the character you just called in active and actively hitting guys, so you don't have to wait on controlling their wake up. They don't just get the up tech and dash out of the corner or something like that. You get to be actively on top of them. So he facilitates the next character in line really strongly too. The only real bad thing I can say about him is the assist. So I didn't really mention it before, but it's the same thing as it is his pillar move. However, it is decidedly the medium version of the move, so if you're way too close, it's just gonna miss. So his combo ability outside of the corner is very suspect, to say the least. But all in all, considering his strengths, the fact that he just has a so-so assist isn't too bad. But he would be a much more better complete package if he did have a better assist. But all in all, he's a good character. He's fun to play too, and that's honestly what the most important thing in the end is anyways. And I would suggest if you've never played him, at least give him a shot, because his playstyle is a bit different than usual, like, Goku style character, straight Kamehameha beam and that kind of stuff. He is different. He's pretty unique as far as the game's concerned. Maybe not crazy unique like a Ginyu or something, but unique enough. Anyways, that's it for this video, so thank you very much for watching. I hope this video found you well. Go out and play some Dragon Ball.